I head over to OXXO about 3 days ago because I need a SIM card. You know, I need the Mexican SIM card. I need it to have some minutes on it because my U.S. carrier, Google, they won't accept my form of payment. They say, hey, we won't accept a prepaid card. Okay, that's all they're gonna get. So get over to OXXO, it's closed. My friends at the gas station that I always go to, they say it's closed. I'm like, why is it closed? They don't know. They don't know. Or they didn't say. So I wait a couple days, still OXXO isn't closed. It's still closed. So I go to get in my 16 kilometers, and so I asked the guy that's at the municipality. I say, hey, ¿por qué OXXO está cierran? You know, why are todos los OXXO cierran? And he goes down and we shoot a video, and he talks about all of why he thinks they're closed. And he was neither articulate nor accurate, but he had an opinion. So I'm riding. All of a sudden he flags me down, stop riding, come here, and he says, hey, abórdalo. Todo que yo dijo, abórdalo. Okay. So you're looking at this particular video here, and they're saying Tamaulipas ingobernable. Okay. Here's what's going on. Number one, you got a huge river that's on. See the silhouette of the state of Tamaulipas? You got a huge river. Then you got mountains. Then you got impenetrable desert. Then you have the Gulf of Mexico going all the way to Cuba. So if central government is in Mexico City, then just like when Cuervo de Vaca passed through this area of Mexico, and he described it as desert, ungovernable, that's basically not going to change just because you have Mexican republicanism. That's not going to change. Situation remains the same. You take the two Laredos. The two Laredos are split by the river, but the important thing about the two Laredos is that the United States doesn't govern the area well. Look at the statistics. The United States does not govern that area well, south of San Antonio. And they barely started governing San Antonio well. So generally, until they put in an airport in Dallas so that you could actually move goods and services in and out of the high desert, basically you had cattle country, little bit of cotton, and just an extreme wasteland. That's the best way to describe what Texas was. All the way down, and Tamaulipas was basically part of Texas, but it wasn't really part of Texas, and it was kind of part of Mexico, but it wasn't really part of Mexico. It was just kind of Tamaulipas. It was just left to itself. Well, that still hasn't changed. It's basically Texas doesn't touch it, Mexico doesn't touch it. It's kind of like left to itself because of its geography. It's not ungovernable because of the people. It's ungovernable because of the geography. It's one of the hottest places in the world. Your car breaks down in Tamaulipas, and you got a 5-mile walk in any direction. No water, no nothing. I mean, no natural water, unless you're right on the Rio Grande. There's no natural water. And you would much rather, if you're in New York and your car breaks down, you can dip in, and I've done it before, you can literally drink out of the Hudson. You are taking a real chance drinking out of the Rio Grande. You're taking a real chance. So even if you're right next to the Rio Grande, no water, extremely hot, sand blowing, no trees, no shade, extreme heat, extreme cold. Okay, it's the eastern end of the Sonora Desert. The whole of the Sonora Desert, south of the Rockies, all the way to Baja California, the southern tip of Baja California, coming all the way up in an arc, going towards the Gulf of Mexico, towards Tamaulipas. That entire area is basically ungovernable. It's like you go to Phoenix, and attempt to drive outside of Phoenix 50 miles, going towards Tucson. Attempt it. Get off the highway, and attempt to drive 50 miles going towards Phoenix. I mean, going towards Tucson and a small desert road. You got to pray you make it. Okay, go from LA, go to Barstow, and then shoot across to Vegas on a small, isolated road. Nothing out there. Ungovernable. So that's what's going on in Tamaulipas. It's the geography. Geography shapes people more than people shape geography. Yeah, people don't like that. We like to say that human beings are an animal that can survive in any climatic condition. All of that is true. But the problem of it is that the climatic conditions shape the people more than the people shape the climatic conditions. That's how it is. You got a lot of ice and snow in Antarctica. North Pole, you still haven't got the Northwest Passage, and people have been looking for the shortest route to Asia for 2,000 years, in case the Arabs block the Mediterranean or the Red Sea or the Horn of Africa. So that short, safe route still is icebound. Still, even with global warming. So the environment shapes the people more than the people shape the environment. We're still living on a planet. And Tamaulipas is ungovernable because the Mexican central government plain and simply cannot afford to govern it. It's practically impossible. Practically impossible. Monterrey, that's in the state of Nuevo León, is entirely different. It's closer to Mexico City. Its climate is better. But even there, it's become ungovernable because of the water situation. So, not every country is fortunate. Mexico is an unfortunate country. It's like Afghanistan. Mountainous, dry, rivers that are not navigable, I mean, you cannot send an ocean liner or a ship with a lot of tonnage up any river in Mexico. So everything has to be trucked in, bussed in, carried in a horse carriage. That just means that you always, if you had no taxes, no nothing, no anything, the cost of shipping something from point A to point B in Mexico is always going to be higher than if you were shipping something in the Great Lakes. Always. Always. It's kind of like you take Nevada. You take Nevada, and Nevada is very much like Mexico. Things cost more in Nevada than they do in California. Material items like soft drinks, food, water cost more in Nevada, because Nevada basically is just a pure desert. Its water comes way 80-90 miles east of town by the over under Lake Powell and the Hoover Dam. So everything costs more in Vegas. People in Vegas understand that. Well, Tamaulipas is in the exact same situation. Exact same situation. I'm not saying that there aren't any nefarious elements out there. Yeah, certainly there are. But it's the geography that is driving this. Here, watch a little bit of this.
Tamaulipas es ingobernable. Se ha convertido en un estado fallido. Rehén de una violenta disputa entre facciones del cártel del Golfo y del cártel del Noreste por el control de una industria criminal multimillonaria que incluye la exportación de fentanilo producido en los nuevos laboratorios instalados en Nuevo León, el trasiego de migrantes, el contrabando de hidrocarburos y un esquema de extorsión que alcanza lo mismo a empresas multinacionales que a vendedores ambulantes. Esta semana, FEMSA, una empresa con un valor de capitalización de mercado de 39,000 millones de dólares, que cotiza en las bolsas de valores de México y de Nueva York, anunció el cierre indefinido de 193 tiendas OXXO y 7 gasolineras OXXOs en Nuevo Laredo, porque no existen condiciones de seguridad. Un análisis independiente calcula que la compañía ha incurrido en pérdidas de al menos 50 millones de pesos por la suspensión de operaciones. En un comunicado, FEMSA declaró que la decisión se tomó debido a actos de violencia que pusieron en riesgo la integridad de colaboradores. Julio Almanza Armas, el presidente de la Federación Estatal de Cámaras de Comercio de Tamaulipas, denunció que el cierre de tiendas OXXO es la prueba más evidente de la crisis de inseguridad en el estado.
Estamos preocupados por FEMSA, estamos preocupados por el comercio en sí de Nuevo Laredo, en donde, pues lógicamente esto queda claro de que somos rehenes de extorsiones, somos rehenes de bandas delincuenciales.
Horas después, Almanza Armas fue asesinado en Matamoros. Se trató de un ataque directo perpetrado por 2 sicarios en motocicletas que dispararon en 6 ocasiones en contra de la ventana de la camioneta Cherokee en la que viajaba el empresario. ¿Quiénes fueron los arquitectos de la ejecución? ¿Los cárteles que están fuera de control o los enemigos políticos del empresario? Aunque fue candidato del PRD a la gobernatura.
Okay, now those are the two questions. So, and this guy, those were his famous last words. He was on TV or on the radio and he said what he said, and as soon as he was going home from his office, some guys rolled up on a motorcycle and bat, took him out. So what they're saying in this news report is who is the architect behind this? Was it the politicals in Tamaulipas, or was it the pure criminals in Tamaulipas, or was it both in concert? Well, okay, we don't know. Nobody knows. So, that's the lay of the land. So Here's what's ridiculous. And I'm going to go back to Austin Holloman, Dallas, Texas. He will fly all the way over Mexico and all the way over the state of Tamaulipas and land in Brazil, land in Cartagena, land in South America, under the assumption that either there's more Spanish in Brazil or more Spanish in Colombia than there is in Mexico. You know, you can learn more Spanish there than you can in Mexico. Or he's assuming that Mexico is much more dangerous than Cartagena and Brazil. Okay, well, that's plain and simply not true. That's not true. Mexico is far less dangerous than even the United States. Even with all of this going on in Tamaulipas, it's still less dangerous. You have a 3 times greater rate of premature death of unnatural causes in the United States relative even to Tamaulipas. Yeah. Your chances of premature death in Colombia and in Brazil are greater even than in Tamaulipas. Yeah. Shocking. So you fly all the way over Mexico because you figure that Mexico is dangerous, and you fly to some place that's more dangerous. You fly all the way over to Kenya, Nairobi, under the assumption that it's less dangerous than Mexico, and Al-Shabaab is waiting there for you. Now, no one flies directly into Haiti and says, hey, you know, I'm going to fly into Haiti and avoid, I'm going to avoid Mexico. But what are people thinking when they fly into the Dominican Republic? Haiti and the Dominican Republic are on the same island. See, there are inexplicable things that expats and passport bros do. Inexplicable things. Tamaulipas is dangerous. Mexico is dangerous. Dallas is more dangerous. Chicago is more dangerous. Washington, D.C., very dangerous. Far more dangerous than Tamaulipas. Far more. L.A., far more dangerous than Tamaulipas. One of the reasons Tamaulipas is less dangerous is because few people actually have firearms. Yes, the government and the narcos are heavily armed, but neither the government or the narcos have to worry about crossfire from the citizens. It's not like in the United States, you know, the cops are shooting at the bad guys, boom, 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 back and forth, and then the cops and the bad guys have to worry about everybody in the neighborhood opening their windows, and then the bad guys and the cops have to navigate through the crossfire. You know, it's not like that in Mexico. The citizens generally are unarmed. Now that means that the citizens are open to victimization, but the citizens are unarmed, whereas the military and the narcos are armed. Now, when you got the Bloods, the Crips are armed. The police at the police precinct are armed. The National Guard is armed. The sheriff department is armed, and all of the people in the neighborhood are armed. See the multiplicity of firepower? That's the difference. That's the difference. And no one tells you that. So, you can still start out in Tamaulipas. You know, you want to learn Spanish, you can still start out in Tamaulipas. It's still safe enough to start out. Then you can venture off to Medellin. You can venture off to Brazil. You can venture off to Argentina. You can venture off to Angola. But if you're a normal working person and you're working, you only have a 2-week vacation. You only have a month vacation maximum from your job. You're not going to be able to consume 24 hours flying on a jet. That gives you, 24 hours flying on a jet to wherever you're going to land. And I know you're saying, well, how do you say 24 hours? Because I know it's 9 hours to Brazil. So about time you prepare, you park, you this, you that, you're talking about 15 hours. And in total preparation time to land, you're talking about 24 hours. It's going to take you a whole day. Okay, then it's going to be a whole day back. Okay, so that's 2 days. So let's say, and I know a guy, he's getting ready to go to Brazil, he's getting ready to go for 3 days. Now, that means if he spends 3 solid days in Brazil, that actually means 4 to 5 days, because he had to prepare to go. You know, feed the dog, turn off the lights, tell the neighbors he's going, drive to the airport, park his car, pay the rental fee, on and on and on and on. So you're talking, so a 3-day trip is actually a 5-day trip. Prep time, travel time. Okay. So, in spite of what's going on over at OXXO, Tamaulipas is still relatively safe in comparison to like Oak Cliff. If you got a lot of money and you want to meet a really beautiful woman, you can go to Oak Cliff right now. She's there, she's willing, she's waiting. She speaks your own language. She recognizes your status. No problem. You can go to North Dallas right now. Meet a Latina. She recognizes that you got more cash than the guy she's with. She recognizes that you got more status. No problem. You're in like fled. Okay. Well, why don't you go there? Because of That's why. That's why. So you assume that there's going to be more in Mexico and Tamaulipas. No. Less. And Tamaulipas is not as dangerous as Brazil. It's not as dangerous as Cartagena. And remember, when something happens to you and you're 9 hours away, 9 hours away, plus you gotta land at an airport, which means that, like, DWF means you're 9 hours away, you land at the airport, and when you get to the airport, you're still 45 miles away from Dallas. And that means that you got to navigate through the traffic. So that means you're going to be an hour and a half to traffic. Let's say that you want to go to Mesquite, or you want to go, if you want to go further than Mesquite, like let's say you want to go to Terrell, Texas. You're talking about 9 hours at least, not counting the travel time to the airport in Brazil. 9 hours. Then you're talking about 3 hours more to Terrell, Texas once you get to the airport, depending on when you landed. If you land at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're talking about, in case of an emergency, you're talking about 15 hours. Versus if you're in Tamaulipas, all you gotta do is just make it to the other side of the river. Okay? See the difference?